Hi, and welcome to the second of the Ishei Hatanach series. Last week we spoke a little bit about Adam and Chava and what it meant for them to be the first human beings. They were given the task of getting closer to Hashem, and unfortunately they failed. Last week we spoke a little bit about the fact that he was male and she was female, and what that meant that they were separated and came back together. And then we spoke a little bit about his neshama. His neshama was ruach memalla, a walking, talking being. Today I want to speak a little bit about the actual chet. The actual sin was, do not eat. The tree that they were given as a mitzvah not to eat, in fact, the only mitzvah they had, was called the Pt2, the tree of knowledge. How could it be that the tree of knowledge is something evil, something bad? Isn't knowledge always good? Isn't knowledge the thing that we always need to strive for, to know more? And the answer is yes, but. One of the highlights of our entire nation was at Har Sinai. It was the time when we as an entire nation received the Torah. It was the revelation of God Himself to us as an entire nation. Not to Abraham, not to Yitzchak, not to Yaakov, not to Moshe, not to individuals, but as a nation. And what made us worthy of such a revelation are the two words that we said, Naaseh v'nishma. We will act upon it, and then we will hear. If you think about it, that sentence makes no sense. How are we supposed to listen to Hashem if we don't know what we ought to do? If you want to impress your boss, right? You might knock on his door, boss, you asked for me, and he may be like, Charlie, I have a job for you. I'll do it, you might say, before you even know what it is. Now that's very impressive, but it's not necessarily intelligence. Because let's say he's going to ask you to leave your family and move to Alaska for 6 months on a project. You might be stuck with your promise, and you might not be able to fulfill it. So Naaseh v'nishma takes an unbelievable amount of trust that you know and that you believe in your heart and in your guts that your boss, in this case God Himself, has your, here comes the key word, best interest in mind. In other words, sometimes we believe that there is a God, but we don't always believe that God has our back, that God has our interest in mind. And even in our own avodas Hashem, even in our own way of serving Hashem, we know better. The Eitz Hadas was a tree of knowledge, yes, and we'll get to exactly what level of knowledge they reached in a moment. But what they failed to do, and what we are trying to do for the past 6,000 years to get back into Gan Eden, was put God before yourself. If when I put on tefillin, I am putting God before myself. But on a very deep level, it means that I realized in my heart and in my kishkas and in my bones that God has my best interest in mind. And that's what they failed to do, because they thought, you know what? I'm going to serve God better with more das, with more knowledge. The Gemara in Bava Basra says gives us the following question. Let's say you have a man who has two ways to get to his destination. One way, in the Gemara's case, it goes past a river where there's women bathing and washing themselves and washing stuff. It won't be that appropriate. And the second way is a way to his destination, which will not give him this kind of problem, this kind of Yetzer Hara. So this man might think to himself, you know what, I know myself, I trust myself, let me take the path of the bigger Yetzer Hara. I will follow and I will walk the path where there is temptation, and I will overcome those temptations. And that what will happen? I will have reached a greater level in Yirat Hashem. Because as we know, the full tzara agra, Pirkei Avos tells us, the more difficulty, the more pain you have, the more you have to fight against in your relationship with Hashem, the greater it is. When you're in the gym and you are pushing 20 pounds and you barely feel it in your arms, it's not much you're doing to your muscles. But if you're pushing yourself and it hurts a little bit, that's when you develop more muscles. Says the Gemara, such a person who chooses the path of temptation over the path of no temptation, Nikra Rasha. And he's considered wicked, the Gemara says. Not only that, if you look carefully at the words of the Gemara, it seems that he's a Rasha, even if he did not fall into the temptations that were in this place. Which means you're not supposed to put yourself into ways of temptation. Adam wanted to serve Hashem in his own way. I will want to know Das. I want to know what's out there in the world. I want to have more difficulties in my life. And with that, I will be able to serve Hashem better. But he was wrong. Nasev Anishma means I will serve Hashem the way Hashem wants me to serve Him. And indeed, the Midrash tells us at the moment that we said Nasev Anishma, on some level, we reached Adam HaRishon before the Chet. The complete tikkun did not yet happen, for reasons that we will hopefully talk about when we get to the Ishei Hatanach of Har Sinai. But for those few days before we sinned with the golden calf, was an idea of Kodem Hachet, before the sin. So what was in this Eitz Hadas? What is so bad about knowledge, and what happened when Adam HaRishon ate from this tree? By the way, while I'm here, the Gemara says that this tree was not an apple, like it's brought down in the stories. The Gemara said it might have been a fig, it might have been a grape, it might have been bread, because as we will see, the world was cursed after this Chet, and it used to be that the actual trees grew bread and fruit in a different way than it is now. After Adam HaRishon ate from this tree, he viewed himself as a separate being from Hashem. We are all part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army. As we saw last week, we have inside of us, our neshama is godly. We're not God, we're not part of God, but we are godly. But if I see myself as having a capacity of evil, indeed, the snake told Adam HaRishon, if you eat this tree, you will see yourself as equal to God. If I see myself as equal to God, I have the ability, the capability to disobey God. And that's what Adam wanted. Adam wanted to have the capability to be evil, and then not to be evil. And that's the level that he reached. The moment he and Chava ate from the tree, what happened? They realized that they were naked. Of course they knew that they were naked. But with nakedness comes shame, comes guilt, comes temptation. All these things happened, the knowledge, the awareness happened because he saw and he ate from this tree and he realized, oh, this is where I'm holding right now. One more thing for today. When Hashem approaches Adam and he says, where are you? He asks him, Ayeka, Aleph Yud Chav Hei, which is the same letters as the word Eicha, which means, where are you? Hashem knew where Adam was. Rashi explains that he did that in order to start a conversation. But it also means on a deeper level, Rashi means to say, Hashem told him, where are you? And this is the question we need to ask ourselves in our life. Where are you? Where are you holding? Are you drifting? Are you growing? Are you falling? Ayeka, my dearest son, my Adam, where are you? What happened to you? And Adam HaRishon answers, do you know what happened? I ate from the tree. And Hashem says, how could you be eating from the tree? I told you not to. Says Adam, terrible words. He says that the wife who you gave me, she made me do it. Says Rashi, Kan Kafur Batova. He was ungrateful. Chazal tells us that if Adam HaRishon at that moment would have said, I sinned, I'm sorry, I messed up, things would have been different. But he did not own up to his sin. He said, it's her fault. The moment you shift the blame, the moment you do not take responsibility, you're not the man Hashem wants you to be. The reason what made David HaMelech into David HaMelech, the sweet singer of Klal Yisrael, because he always owned up to what happened. She did it. He did it. If he would have lived up to his sin, things would have been different. Thank you so much for listening. This was part 2 of Ishei Hatanach. Thank you.